I don't consider myself a big anime fan. Even though I find enjoyment in there, it's very hard for me to get fully engaged, especially if it's a long one. It's necessary something of bigger force so I can sit down and watch a whole series, which in this case I got hit with two driving forces. The first one was nostalgia. I grew up watching the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. While definitely not the show I watched the most, I still recall enjoying it whenever it showed up on TV. That also includes its sequel Yu-Gi-Oh GX, which caught my attention more because everything was so new and unfamiliar, but at the same time it had a more jolly atmosphere from its predecessor. But then there was another driving force that made me want to watch the series. I decided to procrastinate. It was finals week on my college and a simple thought crossed my mind. Today I will watch 3 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh GX so I can remember the times when I was happy and I didn't know about it. Damn! That shit good! I'm not kidding, I haven't been that hooked by an anime such a long time. For me to watch 180 episodes in less than 2 months is quite a feat, honestly. Sure, some nostalgia was involved, but I really like GX, so much to the point that I decided to make a personal top 10 best duels of Yu-Gi-Oh GX. Before we begin, I have to clarify, I am not a Yu-Gi-Oh expert, I was more of a Pokemon TCG guy. So I don't know in depth every single rule or every single card effect. So if a character won by an ass pull or by plot armor, there's a high chance I wasn't aware of that. This is a top 10 made from the eyes of a casual fan. So with that in mind, let's begin now. While doing research for this video, I did notice people tend to agree that Season 1 is the worst, and it's easy to see why, honestly. A good chunk of it is filler, but personally, I think it was overall enjoyable. One of my favorite things from the season was the redemption arc of Chazz Princeton, or as we like to call him in Spanish,
¡El Chazz! ¡Eres el Chazz! ¡Chazz es el mejor! ¡El demonio de Chazmania!
He was a dick at the beginning of the show, but undergoes a massive change after a series of multiple events. Deciding this duel was pretty tough cause I really wanted to include the duel between both academies. I think overall it's a great battle between rivals and one that gives more liking to Chazz's character. But in the end I decided to go for the duel between the Princeton siblings for a number of reasons. For one, I love battles between siblings. I guess it is because, since I have older siblings too, I tend to relate more with characters who have them. But outside of that, there was the stipulation of Chazz only being able to use monsters with less than 500 points of attack. This forces him into a very interesting situation where he must build an entirely different deck with weak monsters, and this causes him to play very defensively. The duel overall was very entertaining, but what I liked the most about it was the Ojama trio. Let me explain. As a kid, I recall having a strong disgust towards the Ojamas because... I'm serious, what the fuck is this? But these duels show me how, despite being seemingly useless cards, they have a lot of support that lets them do a lot of amazing stuff. In this case, it was the Ojama Delta Hurricane that allowed Chazz to turn the tables on his brother and finish him off with the Chaos Necromancer. While it was short, I really enjoyed this episode. I was already starting to like Chazz due to his previous feats, but I think this was the point where I finally respected him as an ally of the main gang. But it also got the extra points because it showed me a taste of what the Ojamas were capable of, and also showed me that my younger self was dumb for hating them. For the 9th spot, I have to choose the Battle Royale duel between Jaden, Jesse and Fujiwara. These duels are very scarce throughout the series, however, I think one of their greatest aspects is that naturally one thinks that 2 players will team up to take the other one down. In this duel, that thought is stronger because, you have Jaden and Jesse teaming up together, there is no way they'll ever attack each other. And that is the coolest aspect of this battle. Fujiwara knows he can't manipulate Jaden because of Jubel's powers, so instead he turns his attention towards Jesse and manages to pierce his thoughts and exploit his inner darkness. Because of this, he attacks Jaden, with him retaliating back to Jesse. But it's incredible how this effectively tricks you into thinking that their friendship is fading away. However, this ends up being nothing more than a facade to redirect the damage back to Fujiwara, and that was such an unexpected moment. The other highlight of the duel is Jesse sacrificing himself so that Jaden can survive a fatal blow, with the latter summoning Rainbow Neos to rid Fujiwara from darkness once and for all. It was a great battle. There was a lot of tension because of the story's context, as everyone except for the 3 duelists was dead by then. That trick between the heroes was really funny, and it was fantastic seeing Rainbow Neos in action, and that's why this duel earns a place on my list. Astro Phoenix. Oh wait, it's Aster Phoenix in English, alright, I'll go with that. He had kind of a Chazz pattern too. It's very obvious that the writer's objective was to make the viewer hate this guy at first, but gradually becomes a very likable character. That was the case for me. But I couldn't deny that every single battle he was involved with was really good. It was pretty hard choosing one, but I finally decided that, out of all the duels with Aster, my favorite one was Aster and Jaden versus the Sarina doubles. First of all, the concept of rivals working together to take down a bigger threat is a concept that I'll never not love, and here it's done just as good. The action throughout the entire match was very solid. It was really funny how Jaden was constantly screwing up, with Aster trying to keep the team alive while insulting Jaden on many occasions. I found Sarina's deck to be really interesting, as her strategy was about making her opponents destroy each other's monsters for the first half of the match, but then increases the level by summoning the Dark Creator and creating multiple copies of it, putting the heroes in a very rough spot. But the best part of it was how Aster and Jaden set aside their own differences and developed a great teamwork throughout the duel. This concludes with Jaden using the effect of Aster's Destiny Hero Dasher to special summon his Dark Panther, copy the ability of the Dark Creator, use the copies to summon Neos, and contact fusion him into Dark Neos, which, I have to add, it's one of my favorite Neos fusions design-wise, and lands the final blow on Sarina. Overall, it was a great duel. I love seeing these two working together. Sarina was a cool antagonist, and it was neat how by the end of it, Aster seems to gain more respect towards Jaden.
Tres bocinazos para Jay.
Zane Truesdale. You can't talk about GX without bringing up this guy at least once, a merit very well earned for all the crazy stuff he pulled throughout the series. One of the best things he did in my opinion was his duel against Jaden on the graduation ceremony. Very early in the anime, Zane had already battled Jaden. The latter lost the duel but ended up earning Zane's respect, and because of that defeat he tries something he doesn't usually do: thinking. This, of course, makes Jaden play not as good as he usually does. When Jaden finally decides to be himself again, he and Zane deliver a great match, but the ending was simply superb, where Zane uses limit removal to duplicate the attack points of his power-bound Cyber End Dragon, and then both duelists use Battle Fusion to take their monsters to the most astronomical attack points I've ever seen. I didn't thought it was possible, but GX made it happen. When it seems that the duel is about to end, Jaden activates Final Fusion so both players take damage equal to the attack points of the fusion monsters, ending the match in a draw. This duel was incredible on so many aspects. First because Jaden perfectly knows how good of a duelist Zane is, and this thought pushes him to be someone else. Both characters still put up a good show, with Zane constantly reminding us why he's the best in the academy. But that ending was spectacular. It was the end of a season, and they ended it with a bang. Season 3 introduced a lot of really cool characters. There was Blue Jaden with his Crystal Beast, the Mercenary Axel with his Volcanic deck, but my favorite of the bunch was Jim. I mean seriously, how can you not like this guy? He's super chill, he's carrying a crocodile on his back, and he's Australian! And last time I checked, Australians are very nice guys. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Are you fucking serious, cunt? Get fucked, what the fuck are you on about?
He's such a nice guy. But one of the most defining aspects of Season 3 is the way in which it destroys Jaden on so many emotional levels, eventually transforming him into the Supreme King. What I love about this arc is how it takes itself seriously. It does a great effort to show the true danger that the characters are going through, and I found the Supreme King to be a very imposing villain, and his duel against Jim manifested this very well. I think it was really cool that his monsters were just an evil version of Jaden's elemental heroes. There's a lot of thrill in how Jim constantly finds a way to attack the Supreme King, and every time he receives damage, Jim makes a lot of desperate attempts to reach his friend. But the real thing that seals the deal for me is how the duel ends. Because of the story of how Jim got the Orichalcumai and the prophecy that accompanies it, I genuinely thought that he was being protected by plot armor and that he was going to find a way to pull through. He summons Gaia Plate, the Air Giant, and this monster alone leaves the Supreme King with 50 measly life points, but he turns the tables by using the extremely broken super polymerization to fuse Jim's monsters with his own and deliver the final blow. They make this even more dramatic by making the final blow take as long as possible. During this time, I was clinging to hope that there was still a way to save the match, but they make it so clear that there is absolutely nothing Jim can do to save himself. No monsters, no spells, no traps, absolutely nothing can save Jim from his current predicament. And they finish it off by making his crocodile Shilly step in and go down with him, and that was so effective. My favorite character was so close to achieve his goal, but ended up getting killed in a very dramatic way. It shocked me so hard, but at the same time that made this duel so iconic. With Jim's defeat, it's up to Axel to take down the Supreme King, which he doesn't do immediately, instead he runs away scared, which is honestly very understandable. What follows this is a series of events where Axel's character grows even further. This culminates with a very climactic duel against the Supreme King, with Axel giving a rough battle on his end. Just like the Jim duel, there is a moment where you believe everything is going to be alright. His spirit appears to aid Axel in his most desperate moment so he can get out of a life and death situation. This hope doesn't last long, however, as the Supreme King once again activates his broken super polymerization to completely ruin Axel's play. But just when you think everything is over, he pulls through using his Tribalist accelerator to end the match in a draw while sacrificing himself to rid Jaden from his darkness. Both duels were simply fantastic, but from these two, my favorite one was definitely Jim's because of how hard it hit me, earning him the 5th place, with Axel falling just a little bit behind with the 6th place. There was a lot of build up for these moments, and I think it paid off very well in the end. I found it curious that most of the major villains in GX reformed themselves after their defeat. Out of all of them, I love how Sartorius was heavily involved with the events of Season 2, and his final duel against Jaden was great. But that's not the duel that earns the 4th place, no. In this case, it's his other duel against Jaden in Kaiba Corp. First of all, the context of this duel. Sartorius was defeated in Season 2 and is liberated from the Light of Destruction, but because of that he loses his ability to see the future. During the events of Season 4 he saves Jaden from clones created by darkness, but this was only a plan to lead him into a building full of explosives so he can have a duel against him. But here's the kicker, Sartorius is not doing it because he's evil, he's doing it because of the situation he finds himself in. That scene where he cries and explains that he had his only family taken away from him? That feels so genuine and it was such an empathic moment for his character. But the duel was nothing short of amazing. Okay, yes, he kinda cheated before it happened, but it's because of that he puts Jaden into the most hopeless situation a character has ever been in. What he does is sneak the card Arcana Zero the Fool into Jaden's deck and forces him to summon it. With its effect, Sartorius can choose any effect he desires from his Arcana deck, preventing Jaden every possible way of summoning or any way to get rid of the Fool. Each turn, Sartorius was just getting stronger and Jaden was just barely surviving every attack. But it was such a great moment when he found a hole in the strategy and summoned the level 10 Kuriboh to get rid of the Arcana monsters. But it was even more unbelievable when he uses Miracle Flipper to destroy the Fool, summon Magma Neos, and then revive Neos to land the final blow and win the duel. This ends with an emotional reunion between the siblings who thank Jaden for what he has done as they give him his farewells. This duel is memorable because of how Jaden was pushed into a world where he seemingly had no hopes to win. The betrayal of Sartorius added a lot to the drama and his motives were totally understandable, but there was also right balance between tension and action that delivered a lot of exciting moments, and that's why this duel wins the 4th place on my list. I honestly think Adrian Gecko was one of the most interesting antagonists in GX. He is not necessarily good or evil, he just works for his own interests. His actions throughout Season 3 were something I was constantly looking forward to. His hand-to-hand combat against Viper, his betrayal of the group to work for Yugioh, or sacrificing his friend Echo in order to harness the power of Exodia. He was constantly having a lot of great moments, but the one that topped them all was his duel against Jesse, who was possessed by Yugioh. Previously, in another amazing duel against Aster Phoenix, Adrian's main strategy was to use Exodia so he could use the 5 pieces of Exodia from his graveyard to instantly win the duel. He starts doing the same here, but it was so cool to see how Yugioh summons the Sacred Beasts, fuses them, and uses Army Tile's effect to banish Exodius from the game. And the best part about this is that you think Adrian is done for as he seemingly lost his chances of summoning Exodia, but he turns the whole duel around and brings out his Fog Castle, Fog King, and Royal Sword to destroy Army Tile, and due to its effect it gives him another chance to win the game. There's a lot of great plays and I particularly enjoyed how Yugioh was trying to take over Adrian's darkness without any success. Seeing Yugioh get genuinely flustered about this was great, because he just proved further that Adrian isn't exactly evil. The duel ends with Adrian recovering 4 pieces of Exodia, being just one draw away from winning the duel, but then Yugioh uses Torch Golem to summon herself, get attacked, and redirect all the damage back to Adrian. As he loses the duel, he apologizes to his friend for being unable to become king, and vanishes into nothingness. The most shocking thing about this duel is that even though it's implied that people die in this anime, they don't really do, because no matter what they still come back after everything is solved. Adrian was one of the few unfortunate characters whose whereabouts remain a mystery, and still do to this day, making the defeat of this great character even more tragic. And that's why this duel wins the 3rd place. Just like the Ojamas, I remember that I also hated Dr. Crowler when I was a kid, and I mean it's very easy to see why. He's quite of an asshole in Season 1, but I can't deny how much character he develops throughout the show and how he learns to appreciate his students, and no other event shows this better than his final duel against Jaden on Season 4. Once again, the context of the duel is what made it so iconic to me. The episode begins with Crowler preparing the graduation album and starts to grip that his students are growing up and about to leave the academy. He doesn't want to be separated from them and stops giving them classes so that they can graduate. Jaden challenges Crowler to a duel with the promise that if he wins, Crowler will go back to keep classes. Crowler overall is a very goofy character, but whenever he gets serious, he knows how to put up a fight. He impresses in this duel by easily summoning 3 Ancient Gear Golems at the same time, and fuses all 3 of them to create the ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. What adds more to the emotion is the development of the battle. Crowler breaks into tears because he admits he doesn't want to be separated from his students. That's the point where the entire Duel Academia starts cheering about Jaden and Crowler. They want to graduate, but they also want their teacher to give his best, and the dialogue that accompanies it is very genuine and emotional. And then this duel ends in the most nostalgic way possible, in the exact way the first duel in the first episode ended, with Jaden using Flare Wingman and Skyscraper to destroy Crowler's Ancient Gear Golem. It was such a heartwarming moment when Crowler finally accepted that his students must leave, and by the end of it, everyone shows their proper respects. There's a reason as to why this duel is second place, and that's because I related extremely hard to Crowler. That part where he's looking at the students' photos, I felt that really hard because I've been there. Not as a teacher, but as a student. Getting separated from the people you love is really hard and painful, but you have to accept that everyone eventually grows and takes separate paths. It was unbelievable that of all the characters in GX, I felt a lot of empathy towards the one I hated the most as a kid, and that's why I believe this is one of the best duels in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. But there is only one that surpasses it, and you guys probably know which one it is. Psych! You thought? Nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, surpasses the duel between the possessed Jesse and Zane Truesdale. There was a point in Season 3 where Zane and Jesse battled each other. That duel was great, but ended up without a conclusion, but that was only a taste of what was to come. Later down in the season, it's very well known that Zane is suffering from a heart condition that will kill him anytime soon. He already accepted this, but still doesn't want to live with any regrets. That's the point where Jesse steps in and Zane decides to have his ultimate duel against him. It's stated that regardless of the outcome, Zane was going to die anyway, and that gives a lot of tension and emotion to the battle because the more it goes, the worse Zane's condition gets. But the way in which he keeps pushing himself even further was very intense, and it's admirable how his determination evolves from having his desired duel to free Jesse from Jubel's control. Seeing the two duelists constantly outsmarting each other was a sight to behold. There are no words to describe it, it's just pure adrenaline the entire way. But then the best moment, not only of the duel, but of the entire show happens. On a last-ditch effort to destroy the Rainbow Dart Dragon, Zane uses Cybernetic Zone to increase Cyber End Dragon's attack to insane levels. And here's where the most impressive thing hit me. When I saw this exact moment, I genuinely thought Zane was going to win. There were still more episodes to watch, but this moment was like a fantastic ending and it felt so incredible. But then tragedy struck. Zane had to take the effects of Power Bomb. One of the most iconic cards in all of GX brought his demise, and his final moments before dying hit both the characters and me very hard. This duel had everything. It was the perfect blend of action, drama and emotion. Zane was a star from start to finish and didn't want it to go out without fighting. He put up a memorable duel and even though he lost in a very heartbreaking way, it's undeniable that he went out with a bang. And it's because of that this duel is, in my opinion, the best duel in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. GX was definitely something else. I just never thought I would end up making an entire video on it because of how much I enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, then leave in the comments which were some of your favorite duels. It's always great to see how opinions can differ. But I know there's one thing that all of us can agree on. The American opening slaps. Until then, thank you all so much for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this out of topic video. And remember to take care, cause I'll be seeing you next time.